All right, how are you doing? My name is Drock the Ronin, and today I'm going over some of the top running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft class. It is a bit of an interesting running back class overall. There's a lot of options, a lot of guys who have a lot of really good traits. And today we're going to be taking a look at three of them who are probably going to be some of the more talked about ones. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with probably the consensus overall number one running back in the draft. Some people argue the best player in the draft, and that would be Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. Just so you know, he's 5'9", 215 pounds, rushed for over 2,600 yards in the regular season, averaged 7 yards a carry, and had almost 30 rushing touchdowns. Just absolutely unbelievable production. So what you get with Ashton is that he's a bit of a smaller running back, and so if you go and expect him to be this like really high energy, really twitchy, really athletic athlete, unfortunately that's not what you're getting. Let's move on. So let's his biggest strengths are his vision and his footwork. It's incredible. This guy's anticipation, his ability to read a play, his ability to understand how the offensive line is going to block, where the holes are going to develop. It's just incredible to watch. And of course, he's not perfect. He has some issues. He's small, like I said. He doesn't really have great top end speed. He can get caught from behind on runs in the open field, and he's not a super powerful guy. He can break some tackles here and there, but he's not going to be just bowling people over and just plowing into the end zone or whatever. And again, his size has a couple more issues. He's a smaller guy, so he's hard to find when you want to pass him the ball. And when he's trying to protect the quarterback, again, he's smaller, so he probably can't stand people up as much as you might like. And his pass protection technique in general needs some work. So let's talk about his vision real quick. It is incredible to watch. Let's go ahead and get this going. See, this is our guy back here, Ashton Jeanty. Takes his hand off, just yeah. Let's watch that again. Let's slow it down a little bit so we can explain things a little better. So you can see he comes through, he gets the handoff. Initially, there's this great hole right here, and a lot of running backs probably would immediately just go to that hole. But Ashton can see that there's the defender waiting for him there, and so immediately he cuts to the left, goes into this hole, able to slide through. That defensive lineman is able to shed off the block in order to make the tackle, which is a really good play on his part. But still, he ended up picking up, what is that? Like 5 yards on that, which, given how it was initially set up, is really impressive. A lot of people probably would have lost yardage there. And then again, on this very next play, he starts to go inside, sees that it's crowded, bounces outside, and just kind of weaves his way around some of these defenders. Gets around the edge, cuts inside that blocker, moves outside of this blocker, manages to fall forward. And it's just a really impressive thing to watch. He seems to just understand how the defenses are going to react at an incredibly quick pace. It's an incredibly impressive thing to watch. And again, as mentioned, his size does become a bit of an issue. See here On that play, he was trying to go and block his man, but unfortunately he got bowled over. Yeah, there are some other plays where he does do a good job of just getting in the way of whoever his assignment is. So he's good at doing that, but it's like actually stopping them is where he has issues. There's another play in I think it's this game. I've been in a different game where he basically just dives at the defender's feet and misses pretty widely. And here we have it on a screenplay. You can see he has to jump for the ball, and the defender ends up taking out his legs and knocks him down for a loss. And that is one of those issues of trying to jump for a ball, is that it leaves you vulnerable, especially if you're standing still when you make the jump. There's just no room for you to... There's just no way for you to maneuver in the air like that. So I just left him very vulnerable, having to jump for the ball. Big tackle. But like I said, he does break tackles, and he absorbs hits really well. And he kind of uses the momentum to like shift away from the defenders, and not just like try and take them head on or just like power through them, which is really good, not just for his ability to run and his ability to pick up additional yards, but also just for his long-term health and career, just to lessen those hits a little bit, maybe get some more years out of him. And he also has this other technique he does, which I think is really interesting. I don't know how many people I've seen do this, where when he gets tackled, he'll like start to spin and like he like spin and rotate while moving forward, and he's able to pick up a pretty good chunk of yards in doing that. So you saw there, he kind of moved with the hits. He didn't. Yeah. Now on that play, you see what I mean when I'm talking about with the way he spins as he gets hit, to kind of rotate and turn and use that momentum in order to pick up more yards. It's just a really impressive ability that he has. And here we go. So he's going to take this handoff inside. Cuts back outside. And then as he's hit, he turns and he rotates and he spins. And he does almost like two full rotation and a half. And he's able to pick up probably like 3 or 4 more yards after the initial contact, which is just a really impressive, especially for a smaller running back like him. All right. And also, we need to talk about the Penn State game. So Penn State was, a lot of people will say, it was his worst game of the season. And there's a reason for that. And it's because Penn State absolutely sold out to stop him. And you can also tell when watching the Penn State game that they put a lot of time and effort during their week, during their preparation, to really drill on their tackling, because some of the tackling I saw in this game was immaculate. Some of just like the best form tackling that I've seen so far in reviewing these games. But here you can see, on this play, Jinty's going to move out here to the side, like he's going to run a route, and 3 different defenders are going to move with him. And it just kind of emphasizes just how much respect Penn State had for him, and how much of their game plan was dedicated to just trying to contain him. And it opened up some opportunities for Boise there, to kind of use him to draw people away, and then basically use him as a distraction, which they started doing kind of late in the game. And if they had started doing it earlier, they may have had a better chance of sticking around and maybe making more of a fight of it. And then I was also really impressed. I was impressed by him when I watched this game because he showed a lot more physicality in this game than I'd seen in like some previous games he'd been in, where he really you could tell he really just put his head down, gritted it out, and just ran for just some really tough yards. You can see it on this play, the way he's just fighting through tackles. Yeah, just another level of toughness that he shows here that you didn't really see in a lot of the previous games, just because Boise State's offensive line is actually pretty good for the level that they play at, and so they were opening up just some massive holes for him all year, and so it made it relatively easy for him to have just this exceptional year, and his own ability made it even better. But in this game, they were pretty clearly outmatched. If Ascingenti was the best player on the field, the next 10 best were probably all for Penn State. And it was pretty clear and obvious, but he still managed to make a bit of a fight of it. All right. And so now, the next running back we're going to talk about is TreVeyon Henderson. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. So he's 5'10", 208 pounds. He's 22, which is on the older end for the running backs in this draft. He wears number 32. He had just under 1,000 rushing yards for Ohio State, but he averaged over 7 yards a carry. And there's a reason for that seeming lack of production relative to like Ascingenti, because one, Ascingenti is a freak, and also because Ohio State is just loaded. They had so many phenomenal players. And their other running back, Judkins, also takes a good chunk of the carries. And so he's definitely part of a committee. But he was definitely the speed threat. Because that is his biggest strength is his speed and his acceleration. He can outrun most defenses. And he also has this kind of high-stepping, choppy running style, which is a really good technique for if you're trying to... it really helps you to change direction without losing too much speed. And he's able to run through arm tackles when people are able to get square and hit him cleanly. He does go down, which is not too surprising. And he also has a good bit of patience that he shows behind the line, and kind of doesn't just go running into the back of his blockers, which apparently was an issue in his earlier seasons at Ohio State. Was that he was just relying purely on his speed and just running into his own blockers. Some of his issues is that he has had some injuries. Like I said, he's older for a college running back at 22, and part of the reason for that is just he kept getting hurt and kept staying an additional year, trying to have a good year before he declared. And finally, this year was the year where he was healthy the whole way through. Sometimes when he gets to the second level, he tries to just run people over, which is not really his game. He needs to try and be a bit more elusive at that. And again, he's not a powerful guy. He can't really push the pile like you would want in like short yardage plays. He's at his best when he can just bounce the ball outside. And he's willing to pass block, but he's not the best at it. So this first play really kind of summarizes what you get with TreVeyon Henderson. Just the speed that you see just flying off the edge. That instant acceleration, gets through the hole, gets to the next level, and is able to take a hit, get right back up, and does it again. Just phenomenal. And so, yeah, if you're looking for a fast running back in this year's draft, it's TreVeyon Henderson. He is the speed guy. Yeah, like I said, the strength is probably his big weakness here. He can break through arm tackles, but if he gets squared up, he has a bit more trouble getting out of there. As you can see on that play where he's met at the line and dragged down. And on this play where he got pushed out of bounds, even with a pretty good stiff arm, he still got pushed out of bounds. Just didn't have the size and the strength to really try and push the defender back and maybe get another couple extra yards. His pass rush, he's a willing blocker, though he does need some improvement, and he does identify his man pretty well. As you can see there, he was able to spot his man. He was able to line up and hit him with the shoulder pad, but he ended up falling over and kind of grabbed at him, which could easily have been a holding call, which you don't want your running back to get caught holding. But he makes up for it with a decent little catch there. And right there, where he just pops the defensive end. Go back a second so you can see that. You see he he'll come around, and he'll just... I went back too far. That's the previous play. Just bang. Just pops the defensive end right there. There we go. Comes down. Bang. So you can see he does have the capability to be a good pass protector. It's just a question of how you use him and how much you want to really depend on him to do that. So let's talk about Cam Skattebo at Arizona State. So Cam Skattebo, he's a guy who got a lot of talk during the regular season. A lot of people were he compared himself, I should say, to Ashton Jeanty. There's not really much of a comparison, if I'm being honest. They are very different running backs, but I think Ashton Jeanty is very clearly, at just levels above where Skattebo is at. Although Skattebo is a very exciting running back to watch. And so I think Skattebo, a lot of people have him in like the third round. I think he might end up falling even below there just because of the way he plays may not translate very well to the NFL. So, because at Arizona State, they have him listed at 5'11". But I will say, when you watch the film, that feels like they're fudging the numbers a little bit. If I had to guess, I would say he's probably closer to 5'9", maybe even like 5'8.5". He might be 200 pounds. I would believe that. And again, he had a very good year, as you can see, and he basically was like half of Arizona State's offense. The other 30%, I'd say, was their wide receiver Jordan Tyson. Yeah, as you can see, he's a powerful runner. He just wears down defenses. He's a type of guy who just gets better as he goes. He has really good vision to follow his seams, follow his blockers. He can run through tackles. He pushes the pile. His excellent footwork. It's incredible how well he knows how to use his feet. How well he moves laterally. Weaknesses, like I said, he's probably shorter than they mentioned. and he just doesn't really have much of a top end speed. And when he gets out into the open field, if he has clear grass in front of him, he doesn't really have the speed to take it all the way to the house, and he'll probably get tackled from behind. And then another issue is that he initiates contact with his head pretty consistently. The way he plays, he just kind of throws his helmet forward every single play, every single hit, every single block, which could lead to some issues, which we'll talk about later. Yeah, so the vision and footwork. He can move laterally just almost as naturally as he moves forward. He has just a variety of footwork techniques, the way he cuts, dead legs, jukes people. It's unbelievable. It's a thing to watch. And this first play it just sums up what you get with him so incredibly well. I just have to let you watch. Just the way he moves, it's so fluid but aggressive, if that makes sense. Like he's always keeping his head on a swivel. He's always looking out for, the next guy coming his way, and it's just so impressive to watch. I kind of hope that he can do this at the next level, because if he does, it'll be some really impressive runs that you're going to get out of Scatabo. Yeah, like I said, about his lack of top speed. He has this good initial acceleration in the backfield when he gets the ball. But when he actually gets past the line and into the secondary, that's where he starts to have issues. You see here, he gets around, gets away from some guys, has some open field, nobody in front of him, gets dragged down from behind. And you'll see that a few times with him. And it happened in this Texas game a couple of times where they had lost their wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, and I believe it was the previous game. And so they were without him, and so it was pretty much all on Scatabo to try and win this game. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. They came close. That's about it. And again, he's a powerful guy. He's kind of short and stocky, really powerful lower body with his ability to, just push the pile and break tackles. It's really impressive. In that regard, probably his size probably helped him out just because he has that lower center of gravity. But yeah, some other issues is that he's a guy who kind of lives off of contact. He just really, really enjoys hitting people. And as I mentioned, he kind of leads with his head a lot. Kind of basically just tries to headbutt people every single play. And there are some plays here and there that leave you just kind of scratching your head, or it's like, man, what were you doing? Why did you go to hit that guy? Why didn't you just go upfield? And then there is the other issue of long-term health, which I think might end up being a concern. Hopefully not. I hope I'm wrong about this. But supposedly in the Texas game, according to rumors, he got a pretty good concussion to the point that he was vomiting on the sideline, but still continued to play. With head injuries being, getting so much publicity as they have recently, it does kind of raise some questions. It makes you wonder, how long could he, if his game translates to the NFL, how long could he really do it? And would it really be worth it in the long term? Hopefully, I'm just being, silly, and it's not a problem. You can just watch here on this play. He's going to take the pitch, and then he just kind of, comes out here, takes the pitch, he sees this defensive back, and he makes up his mind right here that he is going to hit him. But then, the defensive back goes down and kind of gets pushed down, and he kind of goes down with him and just kind of spikes himself. which is kind of silly, really. It's like, why would you do that? Like, he should have right there. Yeah, if he goes inside, there's this other number 91 right there that he's probably not getting around. But we've seen how good his footwork is. He could probably get outside. And then he's got all this space over here. You have this defensive back coming down this way to try and fill the gap. But he could probably get a good 3, 4, 5 yards. But instead, he just kind of dives at the guy who's already on the ground and kind of just spikes himself. Which, like I said, it's kind of silly. Kind of just leaves you just scratching your head. So why would he do that? Oh, yeah, and he can throw the ball. Like, be totally honest, I do not pay much attention to college football during the season. Near the end of the season, I'll start watching guys just to have an idea of what the draft class is going to be like. And so I did not know that this play happened where he gets the ball and just launches it 40 yards downfield for a touchdown. It was actually a really good pass, too. It had a good spiral. Yeah, he gets the pitch. He's standing just past the 50, throws it to about the 12, and gets a touchdown. Like, that's impressive. That's really impressive. Yeah. So, I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to I'm gonna save this VOD here on Twitch, and also I'm gonna upload it here to my YouTube channel at Drock the Ronin. I think next week I'm gonna take a look at defensive tackles. Yeah, I'm gonna take some look at some defensive tackles. Let you know about those guys, which I think it'll end up being a bit longer video, just because there's a lot of defensive tackles in this class who are pretty interesting. But until then, have a good time. I'll see you later.